All right, Scott Allie, welcome. Appreciate you speaking to SlayerLit today. Con is going all right for you so
Yeah,
far?
it's going
Good. Let's jump real quickly into something Dark Horse announced yesterday,
Okay.
and that is the new Tales of the Vampires special that's coming out.
Yeah, I actually just came here from meeting with Becky Clunan, the writer on it, and going over the rough script that she had done as layouts. Everybody kind of has a different way of writing comics, and what Becky did for this was she'd given us an outline, which we ran by Joss, and we got his okay on it, and we'd gotten that going over the last couple weeks, and then this past week she spent just thumbnailing it out, really rough layouts in a notebook. I think the whole 24 pages only covers like 3 pages of notebook pages, so she could see how the story breaks down, how it fits on the pages, and we just went through panel by panel, talked through the whole story, and so this week she'll be writing the script based on her layouts.
Is Joss making any suggestions of the things he'd like to see included in the story to tie into his stories?
We had talked about that ahead of time, so he actually just approved the outline with no notes, and we have to run the script by him when we get that done. But basically, what we were looking to do with this Tales of the Vampires thing was to take the time to show people what the new status quo for vampires is. It's changed, and there's not really time in season 8, even with this 5-issue arc that we're doing right now. There's not really time to show what it's like just for some vampire on the street, how their lives are different, and because of what Harmony did. And so we're telling the story of this young guy who has been, since the thing with Harmony happened, he's been letting vampires feed off of him. And it's probably kind of a metaphor for drug use. He's been letting vampires feed off of him because it's kind of a rush. Similar sort of to when Riley was doing it,
yes.
Except here it's like just wide out in the open, like people just know about it. And because vampires are avoiding killing people, you need a lot of humans to be willing to just voluntarily give them a little sip. So this kid is doing that, and he's kind of a loser kid. He kind of doesn't have anything going for him. So he allows this, and then things go bad one night between him and the vampires that he hangs out with, and then he becomes a vampire. And so we get to watch a slacker kid become a vampire and discover what it means to be a vampire in this new world order. And there's another vampire who's been around a long time, sort of, and we see how it's new for this vampire. Like, she's been at it for a long time, and now suddenly the rules have totally changed. So
this whole story arc now where vampires are outed, so to speak, I mean, this really lets the genie out of the bottle. It completely changes the dynamic of the whole series.
yeah.
There's no plan later on down the line to do a Spider-Man and have magic erase it all, or this is actually going to be the new paradigm for the series?
Well, it'll be the new paradigm. People will know that vampires are out there, but things will change drastically because of it. So the paradigm will continue to shift. By the time we get to season 9, we'll have a whole new set of circumstances for the characters. But yeah, the genie's out of the bottle. People know. They're not going to not know.
And vampires are the new black, so therefore slayers are seen as being not cool, not hip.
Yeah. I didn't know what you meant by that. But yeah, because vampires are cool, slayers who already were sort of getting a reputation as terrorists and criminals are just, that much worse now, and really despised and considered criminals.
Okay. Interesting. You have a writer for this who has admitted that he's never actually watched the show. Is that a reservation for Joss at all, or is he happy to see someone who comes into it without preconceptions?
He likes to work. I think she hadn't watched this show, I guess, but she's read a lot of the comics, and she's somebody that I've been trying to build up different projects with for a while. We've got another book by her and Vasilis and Fabio Moon, who did Sugar Shot, called Piju, which comes out this July, the month after the one-shot comes out. And what I liked about her is that she writes very emotional kind of stuff. She works on very emotional kind of comics with, and she's really into horror comics, even though people didn't associate her with that before. She did a series, she's currently doing a series called Demo with Brian Wood, and the concept of Demo is basically, it's a great series, and the concept of Demo is that every issue is standalone, and every issue is a completely different kind of story. And they did an original 12-issue run at some small publisher, I can't remember who did that, a couple of years ago, and every issue was in a completely different genre, both in terms of writing and artwork. And the issue that was a horror story was great, and really evocative, really creepy. And that was when I started to see that, yeah, Becky's really into horror comics, and Piju is a horror comic. And yeah, so approaching this one strictly as a horror comic, not having to worry about the heroics of it, because there's no hero in this story, really. It let us do a different kind of comic, let us take a little bit of time. You know, the story kind of takes its time with these characters without worrying about a lot of moving season 8 forward. It's more like, okay, here's a little snapshot of life for some other characters in season 8. And one of the things I like about it is that in the Tales of the Vampires and Tales of the Slayers books that we did before, you saw vampires through the years. You know, you saw stories of vampires set a long time ago, through recent history and through contemporary times. And this story kind of adds to what we did there by saying, okay, you saw vampires active through the first 7 seasons of Buffy, and you saw vampires active centuries before that. Now you get to see, you can compare this story to those Tales of the Vampires and see how the lives of vampires continue to evolve.
And just looking at the stories from the Tales of the Slayers and Tales of the Vampires, you can kind of see vampires in the past sort of had a certain nobility about them. Very often they were very high-ranking individuals.
Right.
And then you get to the 20th century, and they're pretty much the bottom feeders of the demonic world. I mean, they're lurking in the shadows. They don't dare come out. So it'd be interesting to see how they handle being open now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's room to do more Tales of the Vampires after this one, because this one sort of shows you what life is like for vampires very soon after what Harmony did, very very soon after the new status quo is set up. But what's it going to be like 2 years down the road when they've gotten used to it, and when they're settled into this new ranking in society.
And suddenly werewolves are the new thing.
Yeah, we'll see werewolves soon.